You will fall in love with me. You will take me away from this place.
Full disclosure, news and commentary number 121, 121, 121, 121. It's been a week. Hello. Welcome to Full Disclosure 121. Housekeeping stuff. Patreon picked up a few new people. Sadie and Squeak amongst them. So they'll see their name in the closing Patreon credits. The thumbnail, which I'm sure people will love, that is a picture of Chip Day and Davey Richards backstage, taken by Heather. And I thought it was a cool pic. When it was sent to me, I asked for permission to use it for the thumbnail just because I love that picture. And it dovetails nicely into what the commentary is going to be about, which is about poignancy in the wrestling business, particularly in the state of Georgia and what's been happening lately. Just a lot of cool stuff to talk about, and also a way to kind of dovetail into something I'm sure people want to hear about. That's what I do. That's what I do. I talked about the thumbnail. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm hitting all my little notes. Unboxing. Got something in the mail. Actually got there today, which was nice. I didn't even realize. I was like, oh crap, it's like Full Disclosure Day. I tried to do an unboxing, and so far I've been fortunate. I mean, I don't remember the last time I didn't have something to open on a Full Disclosure. So thank everybody. Thank you all. No notes. Right, put the trash down here. You'll see it the same time I see it. 1, 2, 3. Dragon Slayer. So, I bet I know who sent this to me. So, I've been playing Adventure, the old 1980. I was 8. Atari game. So somebody sent me a shirt. I am currently on a streak of how many times I could beat the hardest level of Adventure every single day without dying. Once August hits next week, do you realize when we hit the end of August, we will be 2/3 through the year? What? And in a little over 2 weeks, kids will be back in school. What? But yes, this is a reference to Adventure, most certainly. It's cool. I'm going to put it on before my children can steal it. In fact, I'll probably wear this every day as I continue to play. But what I was saying was, once August hits, I was a little sidetracked there, sorry. Once August hits, I will make an announcement about another video game stunt I am going to do starting at the end of August. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's great. Very proud of the video game thing, as I'm proud of the YouTube thing. All right, let's jump into it. I gotta make sure I'm gonna talk about that, but I didn't want to open talking about it, so make a little note. T-Mart Promotions. Gary Lynch, who's a guy I've actually worked for before, did fight choreography on a short film that he did. Put in a report, which I thought was really cool, and it had to do with the Gathering 2 that happened. They took a couple of years off between these, I believe, but this one had Rick Steiner, Davey Richards, all kinds of good stuff. It was part of like a convention that had a bunch of old school people, really cool. I was particularly taken with the Dark Journey and Missy Hyatt, just a bunch of great people that were there. The show itself drew 350. Pretty impressive, pretty great. So I'm glad that report got in. I'm just so glad so many reports come in. It's what's cooler than that. APW drew 81. That's nice. Slowly things continue to just get better and better for them. And then for the big shows, they go over 100. That's great. GCW drew 200 as that train keeps on rolling. KLT submitted their own report, which I was really glad to see. Everybody should submit their own reports. Even if Larry or Rob Rod or whoever can't be at your show, submit your reports. KLT called their crowd 434, and they put in their thing as well. PCW drew 60, so 10 more than the time before. Rob Rod was there to write the report. That's awesome. Pro South, sounds like they had a great go-home show. I am going to do my level best to watch this Friday. I was asked to watch, so I'm going to watch this Friday for Mad City Mayhem. Have you seen the thing that Tyler Culprit put out with his crew and the animation? It just looks phenomenal. The stuff that people are putting out is really, really, really remarkable right now. A couple of things to keep your eye on. Of course, you should be looking at gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com. But you really want to check out the thing that Hensley submitted. Scott Hensley, that is. I shouldn't assume everybody knows everybody. Scott Hensley submitted about the Scenic City, which is taking place August 6th and 7th. I will be somewhere on the 7th. I'll talk about that in a second. Scenic City. He goes into a description of all 16 people in the tournament. I thought that was really cool. I love reading stuff like that. I love lists, and I love this kind of thing as well. This dovetailed nicely because, of course, to the people in it, you're looking at Eric Royal, you're looking at Cabana Man Dan, both being in the top 10 for the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Indie Top 10. I saw this. It was really a post about John Wayne Murdoch, who's number 3 out of the independent wrestlers on the PWI top 10 list there in the back. But I saw Cabana Man Dan there and Eric Royal, which I think is really cool. And it's a testament to a number of things. One, they're great. They're great. And the other thing it's a testament to is Matt Griffin and or Scott Hensley or somebody hustling over there at Action. And they're getting their stuff in, and getting your stuff into PWI is something that I do recommend. It shows that you give a damn about the boys and getting their name out there. I was adamant about doing it. I mean, I took with great pride when I would see PCW's top 10 there in the PWI. I think it's really important. And I know it's part of that poignant thing that I'm going to talk about in the commentary. It's one of those things that, what is the value? The value is probably kind of hard to ascertain, but it's definitely cooler to have your name in PWI than not have it. So I appreciate that effort, and I wanted to acknowledge it. For those that have asked, I am going to put in a report for Division Pro Wrestling. I wrote the hard part, and I organized the rest. But, stuff has come up over the last few days that has taken my attention, and making sure that everything is being handled. Oh, where am I going to be August 7th? August 7th, I'm going to be Hiram, Florida, near Miami. So I'm going to check out QT seminar, and then I'm going to the show that night at the invitation of the owner. Why am I going to the seminar? I am too old to bump around and run around the ring. What I'm going to do is a thing I'm going to start doing, because there's always these debates, right? Like Huckabee brought it up like a couple of months ago, I think, talking about seminars, right? Who should be running seminars, who should not be running seminars, and it sparked this debate. And I realized, instead of people just giving a bunch of theories and conjecture, does anybody ever review seminars? Does anybody ever talk about what's valuable and what's not? And the answer is, when I went and took a look, no, they don't. So I told myself, why not me? So I'm going to be taking a look at that QT seminar and telling you, I'm not going to reveal any kind of trade secrets or anything like that. That's not the point. The point is to sort of talk about what the value could be or could not be. And I saw where Bob Evans, who we've had as a guest on Tipping Point before, is doing a seminar before a GIPW show that I was planning to be at anyway. So I'm going to ask permission, of course, but I'm going to see if I can go to that one too and write another review. Wouldn't that be a great database of information to have? I think it would. What's got people's panties in a bunch? Let's talk about the two major things that have people's panties in a bunch. One of them is this thing about Eddie Guerrero. So some jackass. I mean, when they had, if you're asking a thing of like, what's something that's against normal like wrestling thinking is a hill that you're willing to die on, and you don't think you're not going to get some kind of answer that's contrary. I don't. All right, let's just talk about it. So, dude said that Eddie Guerrero was a B+ player at best, and that people hold him in such high regard because he is dead. Predictably, people did not like this, and they responded vehemently. The tweet has been removed. I'm sure that guy, if he didn't delete his account, he is currently running in a straight line, making, holes in the outline of his body through solid objects, running away. Because, blasphemy, right? Well, I want to talk about it. If people, especially in wrestling, are going to openly covet these ideas of what's something that you think about wrestling that runs contrary to people. And now people are saying, I don't think this, this guy, he did this thing to chase clout. God, if I got to hear this chase clout bullshit. Like, can the man not just hold an opinion? First of all, do I agree with his opinion that Eddie Guerrero is a B+ player? Absolutely not. I think it is, it's all subjective, right? But as fucking dumb as you get, right? Because B+ isn't greatness. A+ is greatness. And what's an easy measure for a wrestler as far as greatness go? I mean, we could talk about like he could cut a promo and he got this gimmick over and people still imitate his light sheet steel thing. All that's true. But when you're talking about a great pro wrestler, you have to talk about a couple of things in my eyes. Can you point to a great match that Eddie Guerrero had? Yes. At least a dozen. And probably dozens that we never got to see. The guy was great. Did the guy ever help make anybody? That's my other standard of greatness for a pro wrestler. Yeah. And the wrestlers themselves would be very open about that. Eddie Guerrero's great. Okay. But let's analyze what this dude said. So B+ player at best. People hold him in such high regard because he is dead. And that's probably one of the things that just set people off and tweaked him. Plus, they said something about Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero is one of these guys that I think a number of wrestlers would cite as an influence. A few would say he was their favorite wrestler of all time. He meant so much to the Latino community, etc., etc., etc. Right? Is there a point to people hold him in such high regard because he is dead? Yes, I think that is a valid art. Are there wrestlers that are probably held in much higher regard than they normally would be because they are dead? Be honest. Yes. Does that apply to Eddie Guerrero? In my opinion, no. But is that a thing just saying it is just so blasphemous? No. Mythologies are created all the time because of death. Right? Owen Hart yelled, "Get out of the way," to the people underneath him. No, he did not. But again, you want to deify Owen Hart. I get it. Owen Hart would have been world champion. Magic 8 Ball. Am I right in thinking that Owen Hart probably would not have been world champion? Outlook good. Thank you, Magic 8 Ball. Um, doesn't mean he would. Okay, so let me apply the standards of greatness to Owen Hart. Whatever grade people want to give him. Did he have great matches? Yes. I mean, he and Brett in the cage match that had no blood, and it's still great. He wrestled maybe the best opening match of a WrestleMania ever. Just like Eddie Guerrero wrestled the best opening match of a pay-per-view maybe ever. Right? I mean, that's a measure of greatness. You get an opening match spot and you're fucking great. Like, cool. Did Owen Hart make anybody? Comment down below or contact me. My gut instinct is that he did. I'm not gonna lie and say I can think of somebody right off the jump. Is Owen held in higher regard because he is dead? I think it's a possibility. Put your pitchforks and torches away. So I think that, and this is a guy, do I think that he really feels this way about Eddie Guerrero? Yes. Let's be honest. I think all of us probably hold some kind of opinion about pro wrestling, which is why I think the question itself is so interesting, right? What's something that runs counter to what most people think, which is a hill that you're ready to die on? I'm not ready to die on a hill for some pro wrestling opinion. Don't get me wrong. Here's one from me. The Hell in the Cell with Mankind and Undertaker is not that great of a match, but it has unforgettable moments. No doubt about it. But the thing itself is not great. No, Steve, that's the greatest match of all time. I'll hit you with a couple of others. And again, these are just my opinion. Relax, Tampax. The Iron Man match in WrestleMania between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels bores the shit out of me. And I love 60-minute matches. I've probably booked more of them than anybody in Georgia currently working. What? Steve, there's no way. Yes. Yeah, at least 3. At least 3 60-minute matches. So I love them. But you know which one I did not watch to use as reference? Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Saw it when it happened. Thought it was okay. But I drifted as I watched it live. That's not a good sign. And then I watched it at least 2 other times. One time, the last time, to just like, what am I missing? Is this thing that great? To me, it just didn't. It just didn't. And that's okay, right? For you, it might be your favorite match. I've seen it on lists where they had it like, #1 greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Get the fuck. Like, but I get it. I get people's instinct. They win an hour. It's the only hour-long match at WrestleMania. La, 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 la. I get it. But, nah, brah. In fact, I would, when I was watching hour-long matches to prep for the idea of PCW doing one, and so I could, kind of help the guys out of, like, here's things that I noticed. And because, again, it's not a thing that's regularly done, what did I watch? I watched Joe Punk. I watched Ric Flair, most certainly, but I also watched Nick Bockwinkel and Kurt Hennig. I did not watch Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Okay, well, I want to talk about Anarchy. I'm going to talk more about Anarchy in the commentary, but they continue to steadily draw 150, which is wonderful. We had a title switch. Yay, Will Caution. The deft booking on that thing. So if I'm just going to throw this out here. We got guys that are booking their ass off. All right. Ace Haven, Todd, Dylan. I think you can argue for others. But if you're booking Anarchy, if you've drawn the two biggest houses in history of that building, you continue, your norm is 150. And you're also booking a little promotion called Platinum Championship Wrestling, which is increasing in crowd size every single time and is considered a better and better show every time out the box. And you're a part of one of the coolest things happening, which is the Best of 7, which is happening in multiple promotions with Nick Halen and Naja. I don't know. Matt Hankins, y'all. Pretty great. Pretty great. Talk about that Anarchy show. I am going to look at the... Joe Black matches keep popping up. Which begs the question... Joe Black? Yeah. So I'm going to look at that Joe Black against Proc the Croc match. Very excited to do so. I'm a little behind. I got to finish a report and tonight's Raw and Elevation and all the rest of it. It is what it is. And tomorrow I'll figure it out. I'll find the time. Let's talk about this greatness. Why are you laughing, Steve? Why are you laughing? Let me make sure I hit all the points. So I want to open up the folder to make sure I have all the stuff to look at. Well, hell. Let's start with the end of... Let's start with this.
Game Changer Wrestling World Champion, Matt Cardona.
What is that? That's the after effects of Matt Cardona beating Nick Gage for the GCW title and how the fans reacted. What did Uncle Dave Meltzer, have to say about it? He had to say this. I'm sure people will make their lame excuses for it or say how great the heat was. But this crowd reaction was such bullshit and such an embarrassment to the industry. Dave, as somebody who communicates for a living and makes money doing it, I would have, I get that it's Twitter, but I would have clarified. Is it such embarrassment because somebody could have gotten hurt with the stuff thrown in the ring? Is it an embarrassment because it's the fans kind of playing along with the heat thing? What's embarrassing about it, right? That's what I would want to know. And again, Dave's catching a lot of crap for this, as well he should. I just, when are people going to listen that this deathmatch thing it's the last wrestling left to us, folks? Is that not obvious that point is absolutely correct? Is it not clear that point is absolutely correct? It is the last pro wrestling really left to us in many ways. Now, I'm not saying there aren't signs of things responding, especially in the state of Georgia, especially in the state of Florida. But anybody who wants to dismiss deathmatch as some sideshow thing that doesn't matter, dude, it's where the passion is. Anybody who was at Buds on Boardwalk, anybody who's been a part of what Dan and Tank are doing, anybody who... You look at your top 10 list of indie wrestlers, and as great as it is seeing Cabana Man Dan and Eric Royal there, John Wayne Murdoch's near the top, and he's IWTV's Independent Wrestler of the Year for last year. As they love to say, not just for deathmatch wrestling, but period. And it's clear as deathmatch elements continue to find their way into bigger promotions. What do you want to say? Somebody wants to tell me that Money in the Bank was the best pay-per-view oh my god, I think Morgan Davis said that. And again, it's all subjective and it's whatever, but come the fuck on. It wasn't even the best fucking pay-per-view of the weekend, because I would watch Impact Slammiversary. I would watch certain elements of that again. I would not watch anything from Money in the Bank again. I watched it and I enjoyed certain parts of it, but I wouldn't watch any of it again. But I have already watched Sami Callihan against Kenny Omega again. Yay. So as these deathmatch elements get in. And so Dave said that. And the good news is, I think, Dave and Cornette will agree. Most likely, I would guess. There was a time where if the two of them agreed, then it was gospel truth. Now I feel like when the two of them agree about something, that means it's like, oh, it's some old man shit. My personal stance, fuck, dude. Any wrestling person, real wrestling person, that looks at that reaction and doesn't get fucking excited and doesn't wish for it, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck business are you in? The cliche is, if you're not trying to win the title, that's a fucking prop, Vince Russo, bro. Right? It's important symbolically, etc., but you don't want that fucking heat. You don't want that fucking, the crowd going along with the story that you're telling and being into it. I just also wanted to point this thing out because I think it's motherfucking hilarious. And it is right here. What is that? Matt Cardona leaning in, as the kids say. I truly don't understand why the GCW wrestling universe doesn't like me. I was just like you. I was a diehard wrestling fan too. But then I also started going to the gym, having sex, and actually doing something to chase my dreams. Son of a bitch. Come on. Come on. Matt Cardona we're talking about. A guy who, I will cop to something, when he showed up on AEW, I actually groaned. Like comically went like, ugh. And then he showed up on Impact and I went, eh. But you know what I also noticed? When his woman, like Chelsea Green, I was like, their tag match was good. And then their 6-man at the pay-per-view was good as well. And I was like, okay. And then I saw the stuff he was doing at GCW, the thing where he came in like a month ago and he was acting like he was Moxley in the mask, and then he dropped him and the crowd was so excited. GCW was so excited, like Moxley's back and he's going to have this thing with Nick Gage, and then he takes off the mask and it's him and he leans into it and the crowd is so pissed. Come the fuck on. Dude, if you can't handle the fact that Matt Cardona is one of the best heels going right now, I can't believe I just said escaped my mouth, but it's the truth. What's to be fucking mad about? Just be happy. It's great and all of that shit. Okay. Right. It's not great. What the fuck are we doing? I can tell you every story of people trying to come over like a chain link fence we had as a barrier, to get at me at commentary. Oh, I love it. People threaten to burn stuff down. I loved it. At the time, I was probably scared. I'm not going to lie about that. But, times I got heat? Heat? Come on. What the fuck? Where the fuck are we at? Where the people who are supposed to be telling us what's good and what's not. Now, if Meltzer's thing was, I don't want anyone to get hurt, and there have been cases of wrestlers, like one of them got his eye put out because he got hit by a coin and all this kind of... I got you. Of course we don't want that. We don't want anyone to get their eye poked out and this kind of shit, but fuck. I mean, we've had promotions that started the throw stuff in the ring thing, right? And did I bust their ball? I said I would love for these things to be organic and not to be instigated with a starter pistol, basically. But I get that. Did I say, nothing should ever be thrown into the wrestling ring because it's sacred? Get the fuck out of here. And fucking Dave. I try with Dave Meltzer, man, because you got to understand he meant so much to so many of us at a certain point in time. But God, I can barely listen to the fucking guy. He never lets Brian Alvarez finish a goddamn sentence without rambling on about. God damn, he's fucking terrible. Terrible. Commentary. The moment with Ben Buchanan at Anarchy, right? Men's fences with his father, hugs. Crowd is cheering and chanting for him. They finally announced officially that he's going to the WWE. I'm fucking excited to have him in goddamn town. You know, at Division Pro, Anthony Green was there, who's a guy who just got released. He did like 205 live stuff, and it was really great talking to him. He came up to me, and we had a great conversation about a whole bunch of shit. And he said, like, he's like, getting Ben Buchanan is fucking awesome, you know. So you know when the other boys are genuinely fucking happy for you. When Anthony Green, I mean, he just got released from the WWE. You think he'd be bitter? He was not. He was fucking great. And by the way, I've, got to talk to Mercedes Martinez, who was also there watching for a little while too. Super cool. But like that poignant moment. But the part of Larry's report that really got to me was then Ben, you could hear the boys genuinely being happy for fucking Ben too. That's fucking great. I got to be there when Slim J made his return, and the genuine feeling from the crowd for him. That kind of poignant stuff, right? AJ, the reaction to AJ Styles in the building, and for Larry Goodman's induction. Being there when Nolan Edwards beat Dan Moff, and that deathmatch crowd genuinely responding to that as this acknowledgement of like, without chanting "you deserve it, thank God," but this idea of like Nolan has arrived and we've gotten to see him since the inception. And Nolan's introduction to ICW, let's not forget, was Dan Moff fucking beating the fuck out of that kid. And so to see them have this kind of poignant shit, and there's numerous other examples, right? I'm sure people will tell me about afterwards, and that's great. But even like Naja's return and doing so well against ERC, and then this best of 7, and different guys getting acknowledged. And there's things that might mean more to you individually than it means to people at large, but that doesn't make them less poignant. That's what's great about wrestling, these poignant moments. We don't talk about them very often because genuine poignant moments are hard to come by. I'll tell you something that I feel very strongly about, that I find really amazing, is that Shane Marks, held that Peach State title forever. But, Ace Haven was put in this moment where he cut this poignant promo afterwards, but also had this great match with Shane Marks. Shane Marks is the common denominator. And then this match with Jacob Ashworth where, Will Caution wins the title. You know what's also there? Shane Marks. That this guy held on to titles of the two of the most prestigious promotions at the same time. And his work is impeccable. With the SCI coming out, I want to point this out, right? Like, Gunner, the year Gunner won, and Gunner's told this story, right? He had a match with Judas, which had high expectations, and it just didn't go well. And behind the scenes, there were people that were like, well, maybe Gunner doesn't deserve to win this thing. Maybe Gunner this, maybe Gunner that, maybe Gunner this, maybe Gunner that. Right? And then it ends up that it's all okay. And I think Gunner would tell you, like, then, he has a match with Shane Marks, and it's fucking good. And it's so good that the two of these guys get booked to wrestle at a thing in Florida, where they're working together again. I think it was in the context of like a gauntlet or a battle royal or something, but they made sure that they were in the ring again. Like Shane Marks, to me, it's just, I believe in that guy, and seeing him kind of be unheralded. You know, people talk about who are the sort of underrated guys, and then the name Owen Knight gets thrown around a lot. I think at this point, it's safe to say I think the cat's out of the bag, and people know that Owen Knight is really great, and that's wonderful. Shane Marks is one of these guys, and he's won Wrestler of the Year before, but he continues to be great and help make people and have great matches. And, you know, there was a point during the height of COVIDosity where him and Griff was the only story. Poignant. I think anybody with a beating heart really cared about Chip and Davey Richards, that they were happy for Chip to have that match, and moreover were happy that that match went exactly as Chip wanted to. And the confidence on Chip is very evident, right? He feels like he has reached the next level. I would argue that he's been there for a long time, but these kind of matches are important, right? He never had that match with Davey that he really wanted to have, and now he's had it. When Davey is clearly at the height, remains at the height of his powers, and Chip has that great match with him. It's important. It's poignant. It's meaningful. These kind of moments have to be built up, and they have to incorporate real life. But at the same time, if you're not going for poignant in some way, shape, or form, what the fuck are you doing? Poignant is the other side of the coin to heat. But they're both incredibly important. If you're not giving your people moments of poignancy, places that reach them emotionally, what are we doing? Now, when the wrestlers are thinking about this, not every feud has to end in this sort of poignant way, or, you know, but man, if you can get there, get there. It's the fact that Joe and Huck really were that tight that made that whole feud really work and be something different. You could mechanically book tag team partners to split up and la 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 la, but there's just something about realism, something about truly poignant moments that feel like, at least, they can't be faked. And in a business that is fake fighting in your underwear, to have moments that really connect are invaluable. This is probably not directly related, but I feel like talking about it, so I'm going to fucking talk about it. So, like, I find myself, like, reading these reports or witnessing these moments or having these conversations about these poignant moments, and they mean so much more to me than I think they would have 10 or even 20 years ago. And it got me to thinking, like, what's going on? And I realized, like, the older I get, like, my father was the same way. The older he got, the more sentimental he became. He's a very tough man, very hard man, right? He grew up in Sugar Land, Texas, right? They had to go to, like, a neighboring town because they had the roller skating rink where there was actually something social to do, right? Sugar Land, Texas. And played football, scholarship to Baylor, played football there, family full of athletes, and then he was a Marine and a fighter pilot. So, you know, the epitome of cocky alpha male. Then he was, you know, an officer, commanding officer for the Marine Corps. Served over 20 years. So, incredibly tough dude, right? Taught me to box, taught me sports. Strangely, never laid a hand on me. But the older he got, the more open-minded he became, and the more sentimental he became. Where he would, I remember, you know, at sort of important milestones in my life, like, he would, like, be choking back tears. I remember when I got a master's degree. Even when my family actually came to a wrestling show that I was running, which I never thought would happen. And my father was really taken with it. And, of course, with my kids, my father was, just like, they're so amazing, and they are. And the older he became, the more sentimental he became. And so it goes with me. But he always remained this sort of tough guy. If you were not in his immediate circle, it was like fists up. And here's a story about my father that I probably shouldn't tell, but I'm going to. We had a feud with the next door neighbors. They were just unrepentant assholes. Like the older boys would like try to peek in my sister's bedroom windows. They were just kind of creepers, and they were kind of nuts too. They would get in these yelling, shouting matches with my parents, and then one day the feud just ended, and it ended because my father sat on the revenge forever and put these eggs in a storage shed that he had it wasn't a shed, but it was part of the garage for like tools and stuff. And he just let these eggs rot. And then he just egged the shit out of their house and everything else. And then they realized, like, oh, fuck with the wrong guy. They absolutely did. My mom was somebody, and remains this way, and she's not doing well. The Patreon people know this, right? Like, I would be surprised if she was alive by the end of the year. Because finally, physically, she's sort of broken down. Mentally, she's broken down. But she's lived, like, 3 or 4 lifetimes. And she's always the most, very Japanese in the sense that she's really good with people, really good at analyzing situations, really good at, very good and kind-hearted. She would know information. She just didn't have a lot of rage and hate in her heart for people. It's definitely more my father. In fact, so my mom would acquire the information and find the best way to handle problems and this kind of thing. And then my dad would often, just like concoct these plans that would take a long time and then act upon them without fear. I mean, many times we would be in Hawaii. I remember when I was like a teenager, and, my father would get upset at something in traffic, and just like it would almost escalate to the point where it was a fight, where I would have to like, Dad, like, what are we doing? Like, that's how he was. And in fact, they used to say to me, act like your mom until it's time to act like your dad. And that's the lesson, and it has to do with poignancy and all this other stuff. And that's the lesson that I'm taking, especially this last week, which has been really, really difficult for a lot of reasons. So it's about being like my mom. Like, that's what runs through my mind. Be like your mom. Like, gather the information, acquire what you need to acquire. Make sure you're finding out everything you need to find out. And acknowledge the people who do have your back and who are on your side. Act like your mom. Until it's time to act like your dad. It's not time for me to act like my dad yet. But it will be. This has been Full Disclosure.